Welcome to The Leading Voice, brought to you by Vector and Voice.
What's good, everybody, and welcome back to Leading Voice Podcast. The podcast, we inspire excellence in mathematics education, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Al Wilson, and today we need to have a real conversation about something that has been splitting math departments down the middle for the past few decades. If you've been in education for more than 5 minutes, you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I know a lot of you have started the school year already, and you probably walked into a PLC or a district level meeting, and within 10 minutes, that room gets divided into two parts. On one side, you're going to have the proceduralists. You're going to have the folks that are saying the students need to know the steps. They need to practice 30 or 40 problems. They have to memorize these algorithms. They just have to do what's necessary in order to pass the state exam. And on the other side, you have the conceptual crusaders, right? Those educators who are yelling that the students need to learn through discovery. They have to use manipulatives. They have to draw visual representations. And if they do that, then they'll finally understand the mathematics that we've been trying to teach them. And so while everybody's standing on their soapboxes, arguing back and forth about who's right and who's wrong, guess who's getting left behind? Well, you've probably guessed it by now. It is our students. And so today we want to put an end to this false debate. We're going to talk about why putting conceptual understanding against procedural fluency in middle and high school is actually detrimental to our kids. It's holding them back. And we want to also discuss how we can seamlessly bridge the two. And so before we get into it, and before we look at these classroom strategies, I want to talk a little bit about the theory behind these two concepts and where it stems from. Because as math educators, we don't just act on vibes, we act on research. And so I want to introduce you first to a British psychologist by the name of Richard Skimp. Richard Skimp in 1976 wrote a paper where he discovered and distinguished between two types of learning in mathematics. On one end, you have what's called the instrumental understanding. And then on the other end, you have relational understanding. Instrumental understanding is where the students know what to do. It's the rules without reasons. It's you do this because I said so and it works type principle. And on the other end, you have relational understanding, which is where the students know what to do and why they're doing it. And so the students in that capacity will understand their why. It's like understanding how completing the square could actually be used to construct the quadratic formula. And so for many years, people took Skimp's work and assumed that just knowing the rules and the procedures are bad and discovery is the thing, right? And so I want you all to understand that this is a total misinterpretation of what he wrote about. And if you look at the NCTM Principles to Action Framework, they explicitly define mathematical proficiency as an interconnected web of both conceptual understanding and procedural fluency, that the two are not competitors, that they are actually codependent. And so if you think about it in terms of learning how to drive, right, the conceptual understanding would be understanding the rules of the road, the things that you learned in your driver's manual. And then the procedural fluency would be more so understanding the muscle memory aspect of it. So knowing when to accelerate, when to brake, understanding your blind spots, steering without consciously thinking about every single motion. I'm pretty sure many of you have driven home and don't remember how you got there, right? And so if we only have the conceptual understanding, then we're going to be sitting at the green light, analyzing traffic patterns and trying to understand what's going on within the internal combustion of our engine while traffic backs up behind us. And if you only have the procedural muscle memory stuff, then the moment you miss your turn, even if you're using your GPS, you panic, right? Because you don't know where to go or how the interstate works. And so in the 7 through 12 framework in mathematics, the math becomes very abstract very fast. And so if students don't have procedure, they'll stall out on cognitive load, right? They have cognitive overload. And if you don't have the concepts behind it, then you're going to hit a wall the second that the problem isn't exactly like the types of examples that you have on your worksheets or that you have in your notes. And so the overarching question here is, well, how do we stop picking sides in our day-to-day instruction? And I have three concrete ways for us to blend this in our classroom and to help our teachers seamlessly adhere to both positions within instruction. First, we want to shift from steps first to concept first. So instead of starting a unit on solving systems of equations by giving them procedures for solving by substitution 1 through 4, start with the real context or a visual representation. Let the students guess. Let them have productive struggle for 5 to 10 minutes, right? We want the students to master the algorithm because they understand the underlying structure, not just because I said do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are the things that work. Second, we want to use worked examples with intentional flaws. Utilize the error analysis, right? Um, have procedural practice that don't have 30 identical drill and kill or drill and skill problems. Give our high school and middle school students works that may have a wrong answer, and then ask them probing questions like, where was the breakdown? Was this a procedural error? Was this a conceptual error? What's the reasoning behind the execution here? And then thirdly, we want to connect representations explicitly. We want to show visual patterns on a table, on a graph. We want to let the students see what's happening. We want them to lock in those procedures so that they'll be able to execute them when they get into higher and more challenging courses. And so that's something that we can utilize to help our classroom teachers. Now, I want to shift gears just a second, and I want to talk explicitly to our instructional leaders, our math department chairs, and our curriculum specialists for just a minute. Because if you're coaching teachers or designing pacing guides, you have a massive role in helping us in this long-standing debate. And so here are some things that you can utilize in order to help support your team. One, you want to take a second and audit your assessments. And so if you have, let's say, a a benchmark, or you have an end of the year exam, a department exam, or anything like that, if 90% of the problems that you present to your students are just raw computation, where the students execute a procedure, but they don't have any open-ended prompts or prompts that have them explain, then your test is probably out of balance. You want to build assessments that have intentional 50-50 split, where they have procedural execution alongside of the conceptual justification. Excuse me. Secondly, you want to stop framing your PD as an either or. You don't have to pick one side or the other. Don't bash the traditional procedures just to hype up the inquiry-based performance tasks. Show students and teachers how high leverage tasks can utilize those procedures in order to help them reveal the underlying concepts. And then thirdly, you want to normalize bridging the routine in your coaching. During your co-planning, ask teachers, once students discover this concept today, what specific procedural fluency or routine are they going to use tomorrow in order to help solidify the concept that they learned? Make the connection between the two. And so if you just listen and take a second at the end of the day, and listen to what I'm saying, our 7th through 12th graders don't need us fighting about this academic culture war. They need agency. They need mathematical power. And the power comes from them being able to look at complex, messy problems and understand what is happening conceptually, as well as be able to produce the confidence to have procedural skills in order to solve those things efficiently. And so I want us to take a second, share this with a colleague in your department, share it with someone in your district. Keep pushing for excellence, keep lifting up our students, and always ask ourselves, how can we make math make sense? How can we make math matters to our students? And if you like this material, be sure to also comment and subscribe. If you want more tips and strategies like these, please be sure to visit us at vectorandvoicellc.com. Until next time, take care.